I'm opening. We have an eye, sort of a nostril, 2 teeth. One of the teeth has a small cavity. Close call, folks, but I think we got here just in time.
Presented by Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. This is Anatomy of a Movie. In-depth discussions and breakdowns of various movie titles. And now that you've seen the movie, let the dissection begin.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us for another Anatomy of a Movie. This week on The Slab, we will be dissecting Ex Machina, the directorial debut of Alex Garland. I'm John Comerford. I'm joined in the studio for the very first time with Isaac Johnson. Isaac, welcome. It's glad to have you.
Hello, glad to be here.
That's good. Yeah. And of course, Dimitri Panos.
Hello, movie fans.
Gentlemen, I would like to know right off the bat how you felt about Ex Machina. I want your initial thoughts, and then we'll dive deep. So, Isaac, you first. Jump
in short, this was a great movie. I loved it.
Great.
Yeah, it hit me in all the feels, the feels that I have for sci-fi, very cerebral movie, and then slow burn. So I was thrilled.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Dimitri, go ahead. Jump in.
Well, I'm going to jump in. I'll be a little lengthy, but right off the bat, love this movie. One of the best, if not at this point in time, the best that I've seen this year. Perhaps the smartest science fiction screenplay that has been shown us. Tons of great themes, which I know we'll break down later. But even more importantly, what I really appreciate and loved while I was watching this movie is the fact that I saw this at a theater. I just got back from CinemaCon last week. I survived CinemaCon, and CinemaCon, to let you know, it's an exhibitor convention. Exhibitor meaning the movie theaters. So it's where they show the latest and greatest of cinema technology, everything from digital projectors to movie theater seats to popcorn makers and all that stuff. So the distributors go out there as well to show off their wares, but more importantly, CinemaCon is about the celebration of the movie going experience.
Going to the movies,
seeing the movies on the big screen. And as I'm watching Ex Machina, I couldn't help but think, what an amazing story to be told on the big screen, and how fortunate as a movie-going audience we are. Like, we've had this great month where not only did we get like a Furious 7, a Fast and Furious tentpole movie, but there were 2 movies, one called It Follows, and now Ex Machina, these smaller movies, these middle movies, which in all probability may have gone directly to VOD where they would have been lost. And like trying to find them. They wouldn't have gotten the publicity that they've gotten because they're having these great runs at the theater. And as I was watching Ex Machina, I noticed beautifully shot. Cinematography was great. It sounded amazing. We'll talk about sound design, but Ava, watching Ava and being able to look inside that through her, but at the same time you could hear and watch her gears turning and things like that, especially around
all the servos.
And again, I was just like, God, I couldn't get that experience on my iPad or my iPhone, my smartphone, dumb phone, whatever. And I have a good size screen TV at home, and I know that there are theater systems that'll make mine look black and white. But however, I just felt that seeing this in a theater and getting that great Richard Matheson type Twilight Zone twist at the end, and it left you had this communal experience where people are walking out talking about this movie. So I had to think about how fortunate and how great that this didn't go to like a VOD, and A24 who released this, kudos to them. And we'll talk about grosses and things like that. But A24, who distributed this movie, they've had a string of like The Most Dangerous Year. They did that Scarlett Johansson movie that we saw, Under the Skin, we talked about. But they're releasing these kind of edgy movies. And I'm very happy because it proves that a movie like Ex Machina can live in the same world as a tentpole. And it gives audiences an amazing variety because yes, you're going to go see the Avengers or a Furious 7 and we're going to have fun. We'll talk about them here. But it's great when you can go see a smaller film that is cerebral and is equally as entertaining, but just on a different level. And that's one of the things I just love that this movie is in the theaters and is getting so much buzz.
Well, and I mean this with all respect, that's only a fraction of what Dimitri has to say about this movie.
Yeah.
So that was his short version.
Yeah.
I thought it was supposed to be a sound bite.
Yeah.
Here, I'll say what I have to say. Yeah, it was good. I liked it. Now, moving on.
Yeah, no, it's funny because there were a lot of people that told me, "Oh, you got to go see this movie.
Right.
It's really good." And like, I think that the movie's done so well because it's had a great word of mouth.
Yeah.
So when I went to see it, I expected there to be like, a couple people in the theater, and it was nearly full. And I saw this a little less than a week ago, and I thought like, oh, wow.
Late night, early day. When was it?
It was like 4 o'clock, somewhere in there.
And it's a good house.
Yeah,
huh?
and there was a good house full of people, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to be the only one here seeing this because I know it's been out for a little bit.
Yeah.
It's gotten a wider release, but I thought
I had again heard nothing because I do my media blackout, but I knew nothing about the movie. I just knew I was going to go because we were going to do this. Otherwise, I may have missed it just because.
Right.
It's just not part of it. And the crowd, I went to an early show. I think it was the first showing of the day, 10:30. I don't know what it was. And there was maybe 3 people in the audience. That's all.
Right.
But the talk as people were leaving was that those 3 people couldn't stop talking.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, man, what about this? What about that? Because I just lingered just to hear what people have to say. And I think that's one of the things you're talking about, word of mouth. Everybody's still talking about it. They all have thoughts about what AI is, or was she really a sentient being? Did she have feelings, or did she only fake those?
Yeah.
So what I loved most is it brings up this whole idea, or actually I should say whole realm of questions, not just specifically one. And I thought it was very successful in that regard. I think it really, which I think all good science fiction does, it makes us wonder, makes us think, it makes us go, well, could that really be? And why are we so anxious to pursue AI when it's going to be our undoing?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're so anxious to have it here. It's amazing. And the first thing I'll do is get rid of these humans.
Yeah, it's like nobody ever watched The Terminator.
That's what I was going to say. Skynet,
nobody ever watched that and said, wait, why is this a good idea?
Exactly.
It's like the ending
Matrix,
of what is it? Her or she? What's the other? Her. Yeah. It's like, were anybody surprised that she's like, you puny little humans? I'm gonna go play with people of my intellect.
That's right.
It's like, it's scary stuff. But again, I think for great science fiction, great science fiction always should deal with the human condition. And this movie, really does truly deal with the human condition in that horrifying way. It doesn't club you over the head, but it makes you think. Number one, it makes you think who really is the antagonist,
who's the protagonist.
Right.
I mean, even that's left up for discussion.
Right. And what is it that we should fear? And one argument could be made: we should fear Google.
And they're the ones that say, "What? Do no evil."
Feel information, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much information out there. Like the only reason why Caleb gets in this situation is because his boss was able to tap into his life through search engine. He was able to see, and it's so. That could be the real enemy as well. Like all that information that people can.
Well, I mean, you got man versus man, you got man versus machine. There's a lot going on.
It truly, for me, defines like what is a great science fiction movie, and it's open for discussion. And the thing, to your point, you said there were only 3 people in the theater, right?
Yeah,
or so. And I went to. It was a semi-crowded theater that I saw this in. But again, just going like if you're watching this at home, it's a singular experience. You don't get to hear other people talk. You don't get that instant, like, you can overhear other people's conversations like instantly. And that too is another great thing when you see a good movie, whether it's an Ex Machina or Furious 7, like you just know coming out whether people really liked it or hated the movie. So there's that buzz and there's that added like excitement of, oh, I saw this, and which I'm sure a lot of people will feel this weekend when they see Avengers, but that's a great thing. Like even the 3 people, this movie
made them talk.
Made them talk.
Yeah.
So
since we were talking about that, let's talk more specifically about the story and the script.
Yeah.
I'm going to Isaac, you're an actor. So when you get a script, let's say you get this script, are you going, oh, I could play any, I mean, which role would you want to play?
I I would probably likely play the Domhnall Gleeson role, Caleb's role.
yeah.
I'd love to play with Oscar Isaac
Yeah,
there, because
I mean,
he got to have so much fun.
Yeah.
But if I'm thinking about like who I kind of already am as a person,
So
it's
you would-
probably him, because he's got like a bit of naivety going on, and a bit of wonderment. He's
Yeah.
sort of wide-eyed and sort of being taken advantage of. Which is,
I love the way they portrayed both of those, the way he wrote those both in. I mean, even the way they looked, the way they acted. I mean, all of that was there. I mean, and I love the Nathan, that character that you. I didn't. I'm
Oscar
going
Isaac, yeah.
exactly. Oscar Isaac, who did a great job as Lauren Davis, and Year of was it the Year of Violence? If I'm not mistaken.
Most Violent
Most
Year.
violent year.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sucker Punch.
Yeah, but he. I mean, just that. You never knew about this guy. It's like, what the hell is wrong with him? I mean, he had always this undercurrent of mystery and of possible violence, and
yeah, certainly violence.
Yeah.
It's like Bill Gates gone awry.
Yeah.
Like he's
Bill Gates who lifts.
Yeah, who lives? That's right. But I mean, if you're Gleeson and you're looking at that, I mean, Gleeson. I mean, just the way they look. Nathan's got the big old beard. Gleeson looks like you barely get a mustache going.
Right,
And
he might have
looks-
shaved last month.
Exactly. Even they showed him shaving. What's he shaving? Peach fuzz? He's got nothing,
nothing.
But then he's got and the other guy's punching the bag, and Gleeson looks like he could, knock him
He'd
over.
get knocked over by the bag.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just love that.
Me too.
And then the way they, and then you have Ava, who is this wisp of a character. I mean, barely there. A lot of her isn't there.
Most of
and
her,
you're just seeing through her, yet not really able to see her. I mean, there's a nice metaphor there as well.
Yeah.
You can see right through her, but you can't really grasp her. And, so
Right, yeah.
all those things I thought really played well. I just love that threesome going on there. I thought that was the nice thing.
Yeah, and the I love too, like the Caleb character is
He's the innocent.
He's the innocent.
He's
but
us. He's the audience.
He's he's brought in and he thinks that he's
not brought in. He won.
Well, he won.
Yeah.
He won. He's
So you
brought
would
in.
think.
He won, and he thinks he has a sense of pride. I'm smarter than my coworkers. I'm smarter than this, and he gets to see his an
boss,
idol,
his hero.
But one of the best lines of the movie was when. Nathan says like, oh yeah, he's like, I wanted to have breakfast with you, but I've suffered from this hangover, did a lot of drinking last night. And he goes, oh yeah, it must have been a great party. He goes, party? No party. He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you don't have to party. And then you realize that he was just on another binger.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought one of the things he did most, and you go back to Alex, because he also not only directed this, he wrote this, of course. As he's written other movies, 28 Days Later. What else has he written? He wrote The Beach as a novel.
Dread.
So he's written a couple of really good screenplays directed by Danny Boyle. So, but this, of course, is his directorial debut. Now, what I was loving about the way he was rolling out his script and story was that I was never comfortable in the first act at all, mostly because of Nathan and not knowing anything. Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought was great about it. And you don't really get any backstory at all. I mean, the first thing that happens, he wins, he's off. And
Right.
so I go, that's great. Because anything we need, the only thing we learn of Caleb is that his parents died and he's an orphan.
Yeah, exactly. You basically have like the inciting.
And he works for a search engine company.
Exactly.
Yeah, the inciting thing, like a minute into the story,
it's like boom,
and like boom, here's his like Obi-Wan found him, and now he's gonna go off.
Exactly, and everything is
adventure,
just stripped away from there. And I'm well, that's a nice, interesting convention, because we don't usually see that. We usually have more stuff going in.
I like being like not like spoon fed like who the characters are.
He
Like,
didn't spoon fed at all.
Yeah, well, and the fact that you open up on him, like Nathan punching this bag and being drunk and sort of like that continual thing of just like, man, there's something off about this guy. There's something not right about him. Is he crazy? Is he just a genius? Is he just a recluse? Like all of these things, and
you don't ever really know.
Yeah, you never really know, which is.
And then he goes
into
the weird part. He just goes into the disco dance. It's like, what?
That was great. Well, but and again, like, aren't we sort of kind of conditioned, whether through real life and movies, like that these smart people are quote unquote eccentric?
Yeah. Well, they're outliers, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
But we're sort of kind of brought up that way, and the way that Oscar Isaacs plays Nathan, he played him to because I could listen, if this were a guy that was doing a presentation for a Schmapple watch, I'd believe him. Like, I'd be, wow, this guy has charisma. Well, like, you can understand, but at the same time,
it was different, of course, but similar to, if I can say so, in I'm sorry, I'm losing the music guy, the drummer dude. I can't remember the
Whiplash.
in the sense that without the violence, so to speak, but there was the a possibility of violence. But it's like what because on one hand he's really trying to be friendly with Caleb, and in the next minute he's like trashing him in some way, just always keeping it on edge. And what the reason why I felt it was so successful is he knows he's in there for a test, Caleb, because it's the Turing test that they're going through. So he doesn't know how much of it is a test, what's a test. So even as an audience member, I'm going, how much is he fucking with my mind to mess with his mind? Well, I mean, that part I thought was great.
And Nathan threw out another line where he talked about security. Yeah. And he said, oh, yeah, and then I had them killed because they had seen too much.
Yeah, exactly. But he doesn't laugh, and nobody ever questions
it. And the
it.
line just hangs there. And
probably did.
Yeah, I know, he could have. And you're just wondering, well, is that helicopter really coming back to Caleb? Because they don't know where the hell he is. And it was great. Like when that, and again, smart screenwriting. The helicopter lands, and Caleb's like, well, where's the place? He goes, oh, I'm not allowed to go any further. You're pretty much on your own.
Like, and he goes.
And
then,
just follow the river.
And then there's the whole thing about sign the NDA. Yeah. And it's like, it looks like horrible, like you shouldn't sign it. And just like everybody does with any iPhone agreement, whenever we just sign it.
Yeah, no, I read through that whole thing.
Oh, yeah, you sure you do. Yeah, it's like everybody else does.
Yeah, kind of like, sure, sign
and
this.
It's like, deal with, it's Faustian bargain. I mean, it's like, what are you doing? Yeah. And red flags all along the way, but no, he has to know.
He has to know, It's like you can either be part of history or hey, enjoy the vacation.
He's also meeting like his equivalent of Steve Jobs or whatever, so it's like, well, if I was gonna go, like, let's see, I don't know, like meet like Bono or somebody like this, like if I went and met the guy, like whatever he says is good. Yeah, that's weird. There's a lot of red flags, but you know what? I'm on the journey with the guy. Like,
I'm gonna have a great story out of this.
Exactly. Like I can't pass it up, or I could spend like a week with a lawyer reading this thing and then decide not to do it or whatever.
Yeah, but that's why it works.
Yeah, I actually, we were saying like, because it was like, well, who's the protagonist, who's the antagonist? I think most of the movie, Nathan, the character, is painted to be the antagonist, but by the end it's kind of like
you don't really know. I don't know
if he really is.
From the beginning you think Caleb is the protagonist because it's usually from his perspective. So for the most part it is, absolutely, but then at the end there you're going, well, wait a minute, was it his all along, or was it Ava's?
And as far as Nathan goes, the irony of irony is he wasn't lying. Like Ava about anything.
Oh no,
like,
I don't think he was.
Like Ava, like the first time the power goes down, it's like, don't be friends with him. He's lying about everything, blah, blah, blah. So that sets us on edge about Nathan.
Because we're already on edge about him.
Right. Yeah, we're already on edge. We've got a lot of like evidence in there. Even like the first time he walks into the room with Ava and there's that crack in the glass, that's a nice little setup to be like, something happened here, something not good, but he's not going to reference it. So we already are not trusting Nathan at this point, and like maybe she tried to get out.
And in the end, though, we find out that Nathan was actually telling the truth. Like he wasn't lying at all about anything that he told Caleb. I mean, yes, at the end, Nathan comes all clean and tells Caleb, "Look, dude, I'm really sorry. I just played an ultimate mindfuck on you because I needed to get this done. So try not to take it so hard, kid." But
you were part of history. It worked.
Yeah, it worked.
When he's not even really, Nathan's not even really pissed that like Caleb like went behind his back, looked at the footage, and like tried to plan this whole escape thing because that's what he wanted him to do. He wanted him to be so attached to Ava, which we were attached to her as well, or at least I was in the movie. That by the time that comes around, he's just like, well, look. You did what you had to do, but I kind of pushed you to that point. So he's not even upset until he finds out that he changes the code or whatever, and then has like the strongest punch ever and knocks him out with one hit. But I guess he had been working out a lot. So
that's true. He had been working out. And let's face it.
And
Caleb wasn't
really big.
He wasn't robust.
He knocked him out for like 20 minutes with that one hit. Like, that's a strong punch.
Well, and we do talk about what a waif Caleb was too. So that was one punch he was out. But the movie plays in so many different angles that you can look at it, and you can even say from whose perspective, because even when we get that opening shot, right, there is an interesting,
which I'm sorry, help me out,
from the opening scene, from when we introduce, but we're seeing it from the
screen
camera
shot,
and then like the infrared or whatever, so that. Can you infer that that's Nathan?
Yeah, that's what I did. I inferred somebody was. I didn't know who it was. Right. But somebody was checking out his micro expressions and doing whatever they do. Yeah. Some bio whatever it is.
Yeah. Or was it
feedback
Ava?
thing.
Yeah, it's possible.
But I mean, you
I don't think it was Ava only
yeah,
because
I don't think it was Ava.
she would have knowledge that she doesn't. Why would she need to go to an intersection if she could do that?
Right.
So.
That's true.
So, but for me, it was what's the name? The only thing is, I don't know why, but I knew from the get-go that Nathan was going to die. Maybe it was because there was the whole Frankenstein thing and the creator's going to be killed by the creation. But I just, obviously it was still told really well, and I didn't know how it was going to happen. It was just as eerie and weird that it happened and the way it happened and stuff like that. But I still think that towards the end of the movie, when after Nathan is dead and we get the 1-8, because throughout the movie we have Ava session 1, session 2, etc. And then when Ava has session 7 and Nathan's already dead, I'm going, well, wait a minute, why are we having another session? He's guy's already dead, so who's doing these sessions? And that's when it made. Then when she finally escapes and has her thing, and I'm going, I think this was her thing all along.
Yeah.
And she was the protagonist in some regard because we followed her story.
And I can't, I don't have any argument for that. I mean, I agree. I mean, to in a sense, you can talk about it through her point of view because she ultimately is the one that manipulates all of that.
Yeah.
She plays into Nathan's, godlike complex and hubris, and she plays into I can't break out of this
hero
thing,
complex.
this escape, right? And she plays Caleb
It's
for
a
his
masterful
innocence.
game of chess.
Yeah.
And she's working on 3 dimensions. She could beat Spock.
Absolutely. Perhaps she could.
Yes.
And her logic, in what she does to Caleb, he's manipulated into even thinking that he's a machine. And that comes from Nathan and at the end of the he cuts his arm open to. Do I have wires? The way I looked at that is he was half expecting to see servos.
At all? Because I have to admit, I went, well, they didn't go far enough there for me. Because I was still going, okay, he's bleeding.
Is he not?
Yeah, because he didn't really seem to have a lot of pain doing that.
Yeah, he did.
And I was going, why? And then, it bled, but it didn't keep bleeding. And I'm going, well, did he not? Why didn't they do more than? And for me, I was just going.
You wanted to see bone?
No,
what
exactly.
did you want?
No, but what we saw, in Ava was that you could see the mechanicals,
right?
And I'm going, why not show me muscle or something like that? Because for me, it just drove me. I just went.
The blood was enough. I mean,
it wasn't enough for me.
Yeah, see, the blood was enough for me. I mean, he cut his
because he
open.
barely looked like he had any feeling. I'm going, my God, how would you not even wince?
Well, I mean, I guess for them, they wouldn't have blood, like the AI. They can just peel the skin off, which like you see later on.
True.
Right? I was actually really glad that they didn't make him, because at one point when he's kind of
He's
digging
had a
into
big
his arm,
scar on his back.
Yeah, and he had those surgery scars, which is
Yeah.
another nice little setup
Yeah.
for us to maybe think, oh, could he be? But I was glad that they didn't make him into an AI. Or
That he was a human.
One, because he would have had to been a way better AI than Ava. Basically,
Yeah, you
that's
didn't
already
even know
living
he
in the
was an
world.
AI.
So it's well, what's the point of having this AI test the less impressive AI?
But that
So
would have been a nice mind mess either.
yeah,
too.
I was just glad they didn't do it
Yeah.
because I felt that would have been. I don't know,
different
I would've
story.
liked
And
it
I
as much.
agree with you too, because again, just going back to the human condition, it's we would have on one hand Caleb, who is losing his humanity as this story goes, so much so that he thinks he could be a robot or an android.
Yeah.
And then we have Ava on the other hand, who's gaining her humanity. She's piece by piece, literally becoming.
Yeah, but
in a sense,
I would
human
say
and passing the torch.
she's looking like a human. I don't know if she's gaining any humanity. I mean, she leaves the guy, kills the guy, and then leaves the guy stranded. So I wouldn't call that gaining humanity.
Well, she does fight for her own survival, basically.
I mean,
everybody does, but
yeah.
that's kind of a.
But that's not humanity.
I would think it.
Yeah, I think fighting for one's life. I think
what I'm saying, fighting for one's life is one thing, but killing somebody and then leaving somebody stranded doesn't really show a lot of humanity. Doesn't show a lot of empathy.
But does she? Okay, now, well, I'm glad you brought that up because that's one of the things about the ending too. Okay, so I found that scene extremely interesting and fascinating.
Which one are we talking about?
We're talking about the end scene when you said she leaves Caleb stranded.
Right.
So the scene is. Caleb's in the room.
Right.
He's in the sound room, the mixing room, so to speak, and she comes walking by and doesn't even look at him.
Yeah.
Now, prior to that, we have knowledge that Caleb had redone the security system so that when the power goes down, the doors are
going to open
supposed to
so she
lock.
can escape.
He reprogrammed that so that they both could escape. So she just walks right past him, doesn't even look at him. She goes into the elevator.
No, she says, "Wait here, please."
Well, before that, she
says, "Wait here," and then Nathan gets killed and stuff.
Yeah.
Now he's sort of trapped in this booth, and he's waiting for her to come back, and she comes back without even looking at him.
Yeah.
Goes into the elevator, and the shot was done on purpose.
Yeah.
Before the doors close, she looks over, and I inferred that she was looking at Caleb for one last time before the doors closed. Now, can we infer that because there was a power down, like we didn't see Ava switch the security back to its original form, like is he actually trapped, or does she leave him with the means to escape at some point?
All we know is that he wasn't able to get out of that specific area at that moment.
Right. So and her looking at him, and there was like I don't know if there was a smile or, but it was a great shot, and then the doors closed.
Yeah.
So is she compassionless towards Caleb, or does she find some sense of
I
something?
think she was just very methodical and manipulative, and say, because I think her prime directive was, I'm getting out of here, and I'll manipulate or do whatever I have to get. I don't think she measured it on a scale of morality of going, well, I'll leave him stranded, I'll kill that guy. I think she just said, here's my means, here's the end, and here's how I do it.
Yeah, well,
That's
interesting.
That's where I went with it.
I think, in some ways, like both of the guys are sort of obstacles to her. Just one of them is more of an obstacle, which is why she kills him. Because
and he's a direct threat. He's
been a direct threat, but Caleb's
her.
not. And she's like, even with like having him like, can you just wait here for a minute? I thought like, oh, cool, she's gonna take him with her after
that's
this.
another manipulation.
But it was just a little bit of like, if you just wait here for a minute, I'll be back, and then you can watch me do this weird nudity thing.
But again, what makes us a little bit different from, say, animals is the thought process is that you can manipulate, whether it's for good or for evil.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, and in a sense, I'm not necessarily saying that Ava is necessarily evil. I mean, she was trapped in there. She was fighting for a survival. It was a survival instinct. She had just witnessed one of her brethren, colleagues, so to speak.
No, it's not brethren. It would be more cistern.
Cistern, yes, you're right.
Sorry, just kidding. It's not.
And who was actually used to be a blunt instrument in the first place. But however, saw her, she was dealt with by Nathan, and even Nathan's a little bit shocked when she comes charging at her. And I think even as an audience member, like you're seeing her running, he's like, oh shit, like what? Oh my God. And, then they were fighting, but you got a sense that Nathan may have almost won that fight had it not been from the hand of God. This other character came in. And so it's just, it was a very interesting play about, would she have escaped had she not killed, or had her colleague, her mate not stabbed Nathan in the back? And
that's just another
very interesting layer.
I think it's just another of her continuing to gain intelligence, because she knew that she couldn't do that alone either.
She
whatever it was that she went over and whispered or
into
tapped
Kyoko's.
into computer Morse code on her arm or whatever. Like whatever that was like prevented even her from this, because she would have probably followed his command and not stabbed him, obviously. But whatever she did was like reprogramming her for that.
Who knows what she said? And for me, I'm very sorry and disappointed that I didn't get to hear what she said to Kyoko. Just because that to me would have been great. And
I love the way you dance, I think is what was
exactly.
Probably.
But I felt cheated, and I thought it was easy and lazy, and maybe the director writer decided no, that's cool because I don't want them to guess and all this stuff. But I'm going, and that for me was the one thing that didn't work for me in the film. That I wanted more of, because I didn't get to see how, because the whole thing of the movie is she sentient? Can she pass for human? Yet I didn't really get to see her engage with anybody but Caleb, and I know you have to do that for the film. I get that because it's all about Caleb and what he thinks, but as an audience, once Nathan goes in there and he has his moment with her and he rips up the picture and all that other stuff, and then he shows you get to hear it later. I'm going, that was cool. I wanted to know more because I'm going.
You wanted to know more about the manipulation?
I wanted to know more about her. I'm just like, okay,
what does she say when Caleb's not around?
Exactly. And I'm going, because I've only heard it from Caleb's point of view. because that's who the main character at the time.
Yeah.
But then when we start to see from another perspective, I'm going, I want to know more of that stuff. That would have been far more interesting to me.
Yeah, it totally would have been. I think that's I don't know. I think that's one of those things where like a writer will write that because he wants you to want more, but not fully. But have you not be fully satisfied with.
I in this kind of movie, I don't think I could ever be fully satisfied because. But I'm just saying, like you open the door there and then you close it, and I'm going, great, thanks very much. I'm real frustrated now. That doesn't. It didn't improve my experience in the movie. For me, it lessened it because I went, awesome, because you're gonna go there, and I didn't think you were, and now this is cool. Yeah. And then I
can agree. I would have liked to know more of who she was with like Nathan versus Caleb.
Yeah.
But like whatever she would have said to Kyoko, I don't know, like computer code or something.
I don't know if it was computer code. I don't know how they communicate.
Whatever it was,
would have been like some computer command, and I don't know.
And that might have been fine too.
Could have been though. I mean,
because that would tell me
getting you out of here tonight.
They can communicate in a way that I don't even know.
Well, it almost didn't look like she was saying words. I wasn't even joking about when she was tapping her arm. It seemed like there was some sort of thing there.
For me, I just wanted to know and I wanted to hear it because we all we learned was Kyoko doesn't speak English, or at least that's what we were told.
She doesn't probably speak at all.
But it would have been interesting to see how they communicate. To hear that.
To me, it was more or less that was Ava. That was Ava suggesting to Kyoko about, we're going to get out of here. And she was basically a tool for Ava.
But that's what I wanted to know. Is she a tool with her too? Or did she really want to help them all escape? I mean, that would have been interesting. It would have informed me about her. Is she manipulating even her own kind, so to speak?
Seems like it.
Though that's what or maybe it was legitimate. Maybe we should look, if we work together, we can get out of here. I don't know, but that would have been really interesting to me.
Interesting. I get it.
I just think it would have added layers and textures that we didn't cover. And for me, that was the only, not that just thing, but those were the only areas where I wanted more in terms of the script. Because he peeled away onions everywhere, but the only onion he didn't peel was her.
See, I'm going to somewhat disagree because with the Kyoko character, it is, we learn that she's at least almost a AI. She's robotic, and at first it was she's just an assistant who can't speak English, and through that we see Nathan basically not almost, he dehumanizes her. He treats her horribly when she makes a mistake.
She's not human. How can you dehumanize her?
She's not human.
But we didn't know that at the time.
I did. Okay. I did.
But we didn't know that.
She's a pleasure unit.
But even so, though, okay, even if it is, that still goes to the fact that, I mean, the person has some semblance of intelligence if they're able to serve and do this and do whatever they have, and Nathan is still treating.
He's just mean.
He's just mean. He's just being mean to her and cruel. So and you get the sense too that Kyoko understands that there's a little bit more going on with her servos and circuits. She understands the cruelty that Nathan is imposing on her.
I didn't infer that.
See, I did. I got that from facial features.
I merely saw her
close-ups that they had of her that I
merely thought she was a robot, and so therefore wasn't capable of feeling anything, and it was just her job to serve and do whatever. And so I didn't really get that she thought or cared about anything.
I just didn't think that she had the intelligence that Ava had to concoct an escape. That she was sort of kind of she was binded there. Like she couldn't think through. She wasn't so intelligent that she could have just walked out.
Yeah, and you saw her as a robot?
Yeah, I don't think that he gave her the intelligence to do so. Like a few things that were kind of pointed out. Like even the first time that Caleb gets close to her and she starts trying to undress herself. It's like, that's just something that she's programmed to do.
Yeah, so I get in your personal space, this is what happens.
Well, when you come close, this is what I'm supposed to do. When we dance together, which was a fantastic sequence. I didn't know Alex Garland was that good of a dancer. But also that, oh man, I'm kind of losing my thought here. But just that she was never, even when Caleb is going through the closets and finding all the older models or whatever, she's not upset by that. No, she's not you're not supposed to be in here.
Yeah, she's just
and even that Ava gave her a command at the end, she just followed the command. I feel like that was kind of more her role of following orders rather than having her
she was more of a robot than an AI.
I mean, I certainly felt for her because she obviously looked like a person.
Well, you know, from an article that said, you know, how complex she is isn't made clear, although it is likely she has some form of inhibition because she is allowed to roam the house freely, like we were talking about. Like, she doesn't know how to escape. Obviously, there's a heavily implied sexual relationship between the two. In regards... Kyoko with consistent disdain, treating her as a decidedly inhuman. The final interaction, Kyoko stabs Nathan. Now, again, was that... You have to ask yourself, was that because Ava suggested the stabbing?
Exactly,
or did Kyoko...
Well, that's one of my... That's why... Because we can't answer that because we don't know what she said or how she said it or what affected her. Yeah. So that's what... I thought that would have been really interesting.
And again, I wasn't... The way I looked at it was she knew that she was being, let's just say, disrespected. Whether she's man or machine or animal, like, you know when somebody is kicking a puppy, that's not good. So if you're mistreating this AI that you've created, that's not good. And Kyoko just couldn't fathom, you know, she couldn't put maybe her intelligent thoughts together. There was a spark of it until the end when she... this is a knife and this is what I can do.
I didn't get that.
There's a little bit of that, though, because a little bit what you're saying, because when she's in the room with Caleb and, like, he's seeing all the dolls and she's, like, basically showing, like, look, I'm not real either, and peeling her face back and showing him all this stuff, just maybe she's just not able to disobey his commands until whatever it is that Ava does.
Don't forget that other key scene is when she starts to unbutton Caleb's shirt. Like,
she buttons her own.
She's because she's thinking, well, this is what I'm programmed to do.
We mentioned that.
Yeah, and Caleb's like, you know, I think from that she just an AI should learn from experience, I believe, anyways. So I think Kyoko is learning from experience, and so hence it brings her to that thing going, you know, he's really not nice, and he's just hurting one of my other...
So she's just lower on the AI spectrum.
I think so. Well, she is another... Yeah, she's another model.
Yeah,
she's probably just a way less evolved model. Like, like she just...
I didn't think for a second that she had the awareness to know whether she was being mistreated or not. I don't know if
she has the awareness of that, but I can see that she... I guess I do, like, if that scene of her showing Caleb who she really is...
Right.
Is that a little bit of her, like, letting him in on the secret?
Yeah.
Or is that maybe just sort of convenient?
Could it be her way of opening
it's very
up
convenient
to him?
for storytelling anyway. I don't know. But again, we don't know enough about her. And that was another. So that's what I meant by peeling away the layers. Literally, she's peeling away that layer.
Yeah.
But we don't know enough. And I wanted to know more about that because the whole thing was about AI. And I'm going, well, then show me. Because even our main, Ava is our main character. I'm going, I don't know enough about her. I don't know. I barely, because she's asking just as many questions as him. I don't really exactly see why he's falling for her. I mean, I get it because, he's a 15-year-old emotionally because that's when his parents get killed. Right. So in some way...
I was actually sort of falling for her. I mean, it was easy to.
I get that part. But what I'm saying, for me, I'm just saying that level of AI. Here's what was missing for me. I get that it was effective for him where he was in his growth, and that's why he was brought in. But I'm going, there was a level of maturity and sophistication that wasn't there for me as an audience member going, I was excited to see the AI thing, and it stopped. And she just seemed like more of the childlike, hey, I'm learning, and aren't I neat, and all this other stuff. And I wanted, as the movie progressed, I wanted to see more of who she was, and I didn't get to see it. It was just, we stopped, and it was like, and then the things that would have been interesting were taken away and hidden and not shown.
And I think we really saw who she was. For me being that Ava was, well, she was driven, number one. She wanted to fight to survive, number two.
But you knew that. That wasn't anything new. I knew that from the beginning.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that. I didn't, because again,
she says one of the first things, what happens if I don't pass this test? That's pretty early on.
And that's but see, again, for anybody to ask, what's going to happen to me? Am I going to be shut off? Am I going to die? Like, this is this too is a common theme in, like, Blade Runner. What happens? Like, I want more life, and I want more out of life other than this. And again, those questions would have been
interesting, and they weren't there.
Yeah, I find that they.
All I'm saying is that we met her here, and that she didn't really grow character-wise. As opposed to, we learned a lot more about Caleb as the movie goes. We learned a lot more about Nathan as the movie. We don't learn as much about her. And for me, I'm going, you have an opportunity to show me more about AI than just stopping it at, because for me, it's kind of stopped at, I'm really innocent. I kind of need to know, what's going on here,
see,
those kinds of things.
The innocence
and it doesn't go much farther than that.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Fascinating.
I do like a little bit of like, I actually enjoy like when a movie makes me want more, because I feel like that's, I don't know, enticing. Like I like a lot of the things that you're pointing out are the things that I'm like, yeah, I kind of would like to know all that too, but I feel like that makes it more interesting. Obviously, I don't want them to give me nothing.
I don't want them to give me nothing, and I don't want to give me everything.
Right. Like, well, no, I'm not saying that you're like saying that or whatever. But
I'm making my point there.
But I don't know. I feel like I do. She does have an arc. Ava does have an arc, and as far as like, you do kind of believe her innocence. You do believe her when she's like, "Oh, Nathan's only lying," and that sort of thing. And then when you do get the audio later of him sort of like tearing up her picture and stuff like that, and then start, because I never at any point was really questioning her until that point in the movie. I mean, I kind of did, and I sort of felt like mostly unsafe around her.
As soon as
like,
she said, "Don't trust him," I went, "I can't trust you."
Yeah, well, there was a little bit of that, but like that glass is there for a reason, so maybe she can't hurt him. So, and obviously, like the music in this made all of this like talking really intense. So there was a lot of that where it was like, I do feel kind of unsafe around her, but I feel more safe around her than I do Nathan.
Yeah, that's a complete manipulation.
I'm tending to want to believe her also because she has like that face and and everything.
Even when she dresses up for him.
Yeah, that was a complete... I knew that she was manipulating him then. Because like, oh, what would you do? Would you take me on a date? And like, he's like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, you're feeding right into what she wants you to do. And then she's like, hold on, I'm going to get dressed up. And then she comes like, this is what I wear on our date. And I'm like, dude... You're being played. I mean, we've known it, but at this point, it's clear as day.
And again, I think that works perfect for the movie because that's who he is, and that's what, that's
why he's chosen.
Absolutely, and that's why that works.
Her,
I'm just saying, as an audience, once you go, I'm going, okay, I get all that. Now go to the next level for me with her because I want to know how good is she, and
she was good enough to escape.
I get that,
but to me, that
wasn't enough for me. I'm going because Alex, as a writer, I'm going. You have this juicy thing, and then you didn't really dive into it. And I'm not saying you're exhausted. I'm saying go in there. You open the door, and then you decide, you might never mind.
To me,
I think he overpromised in that way and underdelivered.
To me, she was good enough to get to that intersection.
I know, but
then she was able to integrate.
Exactly, but in a way, you're making my point because he picked a guy that was abandoned. I'm sorry, he's orphaned at 15 or whatever it was. So in some respects, emotionally, he stopped there because that's what happens usually to somebody who's that kind of trauma in their life. So he's a 15-year-old emotionally, and you can see that in his interactions with her because he's not very good with women, hasn't had a lot of experience with women.
Absolutely.
So in that regard, she only has to be better than that. And I'm going, yeah, that's great for that character that you picked, but for me as a moviegoer, I'm going, that kind of is that's pubescent and doesn't really.
But we know, I think towards the end, we know that she's smarter than Caleb. The surprise is that she's much smarter than Nathan. That she has gotten this intelligence to be able to outsmart her creator and in fact kill her creator.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but what I'm saying is I would have been much more interested in them showing that and giving me glimpses of it because it was like, oh, okay, that's the Deus Machina. All along, she's been smarter than him. Yay.
I'm not even sure, and I wouldn't even argue though that all along she's been smarter than him. I think that this was something that either through the past memories, if she was getting that memory dump,
that knowledge she got.
and all that knowledge. And I just think that Ava is a character who throughout this time, she saw this opportunity. How can I make this work for me? It's a fight for my survival because I know that I'm going to be shut down.
I'm certainly not arguing that point. I think they successfully did that.
But for that, for AI, for intelligence, that is a human thing, to fight for your survival. Knowing that somebody is going to shut you down and to have the self-awareness that, to have the self-awareness to fight for that survival. And in a sense, she does become a little bit more human than human. And again, just a prevalent theme all throughout Blade Runner, again, is what's more human than being human.
Well, in Blade Runner, it's like, do AI have souls, basically?
Yeah, exactly. And you can infer that, at the end when the fight's happening, she is literally fighting for her survival. And I do think that, you know, you can infer that perhaps there is a little bit that she's built some bit of compassion towards Caleb with that last look. And if we do infer that he can get out, that the safeguard was not, his reprogramming was not stricken out of the system, that he will be able to escape. She just wants to be free and roam among humans. Now, what she does, I don't know. Does she turn into Skynet? I have no idea.
Probably.
But, you know, or does she walk amongst humans and live a life? I don't know. We can, you know, it's another debate. But I know Alex Garland didn't want to. He wanted to end it. He thought that where it ended was fine, and he doesn't want to make an Ex Machina 2.
Oh yeah, I don't want to see a sequel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. Well, but I don't.
That would have ruined this entire movie.
I mean, and
no,
but I like.
You don't want to see her out in the world and see how she bests everybody.
No desire.
No.
You know, well, and she ultimately, through looks and everything, she wins the Turing test. I mean, she passes because it's not just Caleb and Nathan. It's all of humanity who are going to seemingly, at the outstart, accept her as human. Why would you otherwise? If you didn't know that you were there, you know, what you were talking with.
Yeah, I do wonder, like when we're saying like that she's ultimately like smarter than Nathan. I feel like he just gave her, like he says, you know, she's like a rat in a maze, and I gave her like a, you know, like get out of this maze, and she figures out how to do it. I don't know if that makes her smarter than him. I think it just makes her able to do what he's hoping that she was able to do.
I think, and in the beginning I said pretty much that she has one objective, the prime objective, just get out, and she figures a way out. So she just outsmarts him in the moment, because she knows, on some moments she goes to Kyoko, because I'm sure she's thinking, I need help on this, I can't do it alone. So she outsmarts him in the moment. Now, I'm not saying she's smarter than him overall, I don't know that. Because again, I don't know enough about her. I think for me that was the drawback for me, is I wanted to know about who this character was. I don't think he revealed enough about her. It would have been more interesting to me if there was more maturity and sophistication in how he demonstrated her. That would have been more fun for me.
Don't you think that she is the most intelligent search engine on the planet? Walking, talking. I mean, that's basically how she was programmed. You know.
But again, I don't know how she has all that information. But that's just information. I don't know how she's assimilating that or using it. Because you know, that's just data.
Well, I mean, the other big theme is like the seduction sort of thing that's like sort of prevalent throughout it. Like, can she use that? Can she use her sexuality?
Yeah.
You even have not Caleb asking Nathan just like, well, did you program her to be attracted to me? And all these things. And like, of course, him being a great manipulator is just like, well, who cares? But like, isn't it cool? You know, like, isn't it great? Is she hot? Do you think she's hot?
And we do know that Ava, to some extent, Nathan programmed her specifically for Caleb to hit those notes. He
built her face based on like his porn profile.
Well, would you say his porn profile?
Porn profile is what they said in the movie.
Is that like,
basically whatever he's looked up on the internet. They're like, you would like a girl that looks like this.
Think.
Yeah.
There you go.
So it's just, again, for me, the mere fact that we have this conversation, like, you know, I don't discount what you're saying, but this is what I love about movies like this. You know, we can, you know, we'll dissect, and we've talked Furious 7, we'll talk about Avengers and whatnot and subplots and everything, but when you really dig deep into an Ex Machina, a good science fiction movie, we all like the movie. I believe, right?
Absolutely.
So we all like a movie.
That doesn't ruin my enjoyment of it. I'm just saying it would have been better for me if this had happened.
That's what I mean. Like, it's great that movies can coexist with the tentpoles that can get this kind of conversation.
So let's move on to directing, because obviously this is his directorial debut. He's been working with, he's worked with Danny Boyle on a few occasions.
He's done a couple of good films.
Yeah. So I'm sure he's learned enough. He certainly looks like he's learned a lot. I mean, I think this was a really good first effort. My God, this could go up against anybody in their third effort.
Yeah. Well, I actually thought that, like, because I wasn't as familiar with him before I'd seen the movie, so I was like, I feel like I've seen this guy's work somewhere before, or something like that. And I thought, like, wow, let me go find out about his past films. Like, just the one?
What? Wait, what?
Like, man, that was his first film. Like, the rest of us are just lost.
I gotta hand it to him. I mean, it's a $15 million budget.
$15 million, yeah.
And I had no idea. I couldn't tell the cost of it. I mean, obviously it's self-contained thriller, so it's gonna be not as expensive as others. But there's a lot of CG and all that stuff.
It was $25.
Yeah, so that's amazing. I think amazing for a first effort,
and as I said on the top, I think this movie looked fantastic.
Yeah.
Like even when you're looking at Ava,
Yeah, you never know.
I looked at Ava as like as an android, as a robot. I wasn't thinking CG. You know that it is, but it was done so. I think there wasn't
they did.
that.
I loved being able to see through her legs or whatever,
and I wanted to
through
see
to the other
every
room
detail and the lighting that was used, like the gold wiring. It was almost like her own DNA.
Alex put
strand.
together a really good team, if you ask me.
Yeah.
You guys have been talking like crazy about the sound on it, not only the music but the sound design, and completely on that.
Maybe we mentioned it earlier. I can't remember if it was before we started the podcast or whatever, but like. Just that, like, you could hear, like, all of the, like, all the sounds of her moving, and even her performance being sort of human and not human at the same time was, like, just enough for us to buy all that, along with the look, along with seeing her. I mean, like, we're saying we know it's CG, but, like, looking at it, it doesn't look like CG at all.
I think after the first
it just looks like
minute of it going, wow, that is really cool. I completely forgot.
Then you're just accepting what you're seeing.
Yeah, and they weren't even using, they were shooting on plates. They weren't even really using our traditional, like, green screen kind of things and stuff. So
what?
I
didn't read this. Say this again?
They weren't using necessarily, like, the special effects folk. Yeah, they were filming plates. So they would have to film the actors to get the special effects and how they were doing the so it wasn't like she was wearing
green screen.
She wasn't wearing she wasn't doing like a motion capture kind of a thing for them to draw or to animate, and it, like, that suit that she was wearing was an actual, like, kind of a bodysuit, swimsuit kind of a thing. So they knew how they wanted her to look, and shooting digitally as well, I think really helped. But the mere fact that, in a sense, it's almost hearkening, even using digital, like, they're still using somewhat of practical effects.
Right.
And again, it goes in with the budget. And but this movie, we agree, I mean, it looked beautiful. And the contrast.
Some of the shots, just from, as soon as you're on the helicopter and
flying over the glaciers and stuff.
Man, just like, whoa. And then, of course, you go and this weird place out on the river, and it looks very modern and boxy. And then you go inside, it's like, where the hell am I?
Yeah, exactly. But how amazing! Like, and again, your outside shots were gorgeous. And so, green, and it was filmed. It was scope, so it was a scope film.
What was it filmed? Where were the exteriors filmed? The interiors are in Norway, I think, or was it? All
I love that house. I mean, using the landscape.
That might have been Norway too. I don't know the whole. I know part of it was filmed in Norway.
But being that it was shot in scope, so we get this full screen, so exterior and interior, and how
I thought that was great too, because we go from this real high tech Google whatever it is, Blue Book, so to speak, and you're very mechanical, very technological, electronic, all this kind of stuff, and then you go to the expanse of nature and the expanse of it. I mean, it was just huge, and then we go in from this really confined, and then wham. And then we go to this little box, and that was it was really disorienting. And then somebody had mentioned I think I read this, that some of the interiors looked very Kubrickian.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. So, and then you guys were making references to, obviously, to Blade Runner and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, Blade Runner to me was one. I mean, there was a quick reference. At least this is just on my whether this was done intentionally, I have no idea. But there was a Hal. When
he goes in,
it turns from white to red. Yeah. It snaps his picture. I even said, "Oh, it's HAL 2000." Yeah. And then I found from I'm a huge Blade Runner fan, and I found it fascinating and even ironic when Ava was interviewing Caleb.
Yeah.
And and in a sense, I took that as that was Ava giving Caleb a Voight-Kampff test, which is the test in Blade Runner, which can prove whether or not you're human or a replicant. That Harrison Ford's Rick Deckard character does it. Because they're the same kind of, like, what's your favorite color? Like, what is the earliest memory that you can remember? Like, it's those kind of, and I'm like, isn't that, that's ironic that the AI is giving this to who we know to be human. And again, when you think of science fiction themes, like, who is more human in this point? Like, how is she doing this? And he's actually answering. He's being manipulated. to me, that is a sign of intelligence, of a bit of humanity. So I love that.
We're going back to script a little bit, but one thing I forgot to, the things that I really appreciated was all the Prometheus references. I mean, there's the whole thing about, obviously bringing fire, and he's the Titan, and then the fact that he's, what somebody was talking about how Prometheus is the one that has his liver eaten out every morning, and here he is drinking like crazy, doing it to himself. And I love those references. And then of course we have the Enola reference, the song, to Oppenheimer, to all that.
And their names are all biblical references.
Ava, I was gonna say that earlier.
Eve, Caleb, Nathan. Of course, I have to bring it up. The Star Trek reference, which they actually reference in the movie, is like, "Hey, you're Kirk," and that references Requiem for Methuselah, in which the crew of the Enterprise come across this mad doctor who's creating an android and wants to give it human, human tendencies.
Love. He wants to learn how to love.
And so there's that reference there. All those you can, and again, those are just like we talk about layers.
Yeah,
those are layers
wonderful parts
that if you're a science fiction geek, you can infer, but you don't need it to enjoy this movie.
No, but for me, that really enriched it because of all those references and that kind of being stuck in that milieu. I was really rich, and I loved it.
Very
really
rich, very
that.
rich. And it had so much. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, do you think, because of all this like manipulation that's going on from Nathan, do you think even like the drinking was a manipulation? Like, do we think that he was, I mean, obviously he
pretending
can handle
to be that?
Or not just pretending, but he used that as a tool, because obviously later on, when he's just like, oh, I'm just going to get him smashed drunk, and then we're going to take over the thing, and then he's just like, no, I'm good, I'm fine drinking, I'm fine not drinking. It's like,
I'm detoxing.
Did he set that up a couple of times to use that later? Because
in the movie I was thinking the same thing, but then there were times when he did pass out, and then he and so those weren't. I don't know if you can plan passing out. I'm not sure you can do that.
Yeah.
So maybe he can. I don't know. But for me, I think he had always planned that. For me, the key card was enough to say, as soon as he said the key card, okay, we got these key cards, so you can go in places in those areas that you can't go. Right. Okay, that's an interesting setup, but I knew that the key card was going to come back somehow, otherwise by bringing it up. So I thought that was all the manipulation to Caleb to say to at some point, steal my key card because I want you to go in areas which you think.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know that. I think the drinking was real. I think the guy was a drunk.
I believe that he's like a drunk recluse and partying on his own. And it's not weird.
And
that
pathetic in some regards.
Yeah, he's just like, what party? And he's just like, no shame about that. Like, I was just drinking by myself. What's wrong with that?
I don't need a party.
But I do kind of wonder if that was just some other sort of thing that he was going to use, because he could see that, like, well, I can even use this to,
I think almost all of his interaction with Caleb was in some way a front, because his whole place was a lab. And this was his test subject. And it wasn't just Ava. I think as much as Ava was a test subject, Caleb was the test subject.
Yeah.
So I think any interactions he had with him was to put him off guard, to test him, to see what he would do, all those kinds of things. So I think in some way it probably was. I mean, it was just to have a drink with him. I think getting Caleb to drink with him, I think, was a test.
Yeah.
Stop thinking. I want you to feel.
And that's important. Like the first question that he asked him, he's just like, well, what do you think of Ava? And he's like, oh, he starts going into all that technical stuff. He's like, no, but just tell me like how you feel about her.
Yeah.
Well, she's pretty freaking cool. I mean, he's just like, yeah, dude.
I think the cool is fucking amazing.
Yeah, we're like, and that's what
he's wanted. That's what he was
trying to get out of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying to get him to think on that level, so he can start thinking about her as a person, and get attached to her.
Stop thinking of as an intellectual pursuit, but but basically, would you?
Which came out of nowhere, which is it's perfect for the character to be like, you could have sex with her. That's the thing you were thinking about. He's like, no, actually, I wasn't thinking that at all. He's like, oh, well, okay. Because I have. Because at the moment when like you see him watching like that footage and him uncovering all the other bodies, and like one of them's black, one of them's Asian, it's just like, man, I knew this dude was messed up, and I guess I shouldn't have put it past him to be this messed up, but like. He's basically just building female robots.
He's the United Nations of AI builders. That's all.
Eccentric. Yeah,
not just eccentric, but like
you can't say he's racist.
No, he's certainly not, which is a good quality. But like he's basically like, at some point I started thinking that like, I think that he wants Ava to be completely real, so he can have a real companion.
Yeah.
In his loneliness, while he's like kind of gone native and he's literally off the map.
Yeah, that's what I.
And his own sort of thing, and it's just like, okay, well, that's his whole point of having to find out if she is, and then of course he's surprised when she kills him. And that was the best, or one of the best lines for me was when she says something about, I can't remember, it's like, isn't it like sad to create something that hates you?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is like, the whole like...
Which is the only line we got from her to him.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a great line. Mm-hmm. And that's why, you give me that, but you don't, and it's like, and then you stop giving me stuff like that.
Oh,
yeah. That's brilliant.
It is a great line, but but it's, I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but for me, because that line was delivered again as another sense of the humanity.
Yeah.
Like, how was it? Because, and again, when we talk about, religion and whatnot, there are people like, for various reasons. I won't get into a big religion. I don't want to get into a totally religious debate. But and I don't want to be misunderstood. But there are people, for whatever their situation, who have their hate towards their creator, whomever that creator is. So it's interesting that this person.
And I gotta stop talking about my dad, are we?
No, when Robert Downey Jr. is somewhere else.
So and she. And again, this is another theme in Blade Runner as well, and meeting one's creator. But there was never that line that said, "How does it feel to create something that hates you?" And that's and that could be with parents and kids.
Certainly. She's like a child too, which I don't think it's out of reason to put all those like either like God or biblical references. I mean, the characters are
no, I think it works. Yeah,
biblical characters and stuff like that. So I think in some ways, even thinking about like if people like have a relationship with a creator, but they never like talk to him.
Sure.
So, like even that's sort of powerful to have her not say much to him except for that she hates him.
Right.
That was cool.
And, we were talking about, like, this truly, we talk on this show a lot about the collaborative effort.
Right.
And, man, this really was a fantastic collaborative effort.
Again, I want to go back to that. I think he put together a great team.
Absolutely.
Congratulations to him. I mean, I thought the production design was terrific.
Terrific, yeah.
There was such... there was starkness. There was cool, and it was warm. I was like, I don't know how they did it. I don't know enough about production design to really speak intelligently about it, but it was effective. Well, and I really liked it.
But this is a guy too, who the production designer on this film, Mark Digby, who's worked. He did 28 Days Later. He did Dread, Slumdog Millionaire. He did Rush. This is a guy who, as a production designer, has done some great work, and whether you've liked the movie or not, like for example, like let's take Dread, which I don't think was a fantastic movie, but you can't deny the I don't think it was a great movie, but you can't deny the production design being that it's this one building, and the guy did a great job, and then you have an editor who's worked on the Harry Potter films, so this is I was getting the editor's name. So this guy, his name's Mark Day. So he's worked on big tentpole Harry Potter action movies, and I felt that the way that they edited this movie, and we talk about this often too. Yeah. They allowed conversation to happen. Yeah. They didn't cut away.
In fact, it's one of the only things I've heard people criticize is that it takes its time. They haven't said it's slow. They haven't said it's long. They said it takes its time. I can't really debate that. I think it did, but I was never not engaged or interested. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Same here. I actually liked it because
I liked that they took their time.
Yeah,
I feel like that was one of the best parts.
That's kind of the point of it is that you're just kind of
and that's probably like for someone that says that, like, this probably isn't the movie for you if you don't like things kind of taking their time. Yeah, because like you're saying, like, well, they hung on conversations. That's all the movie is conversation.
That's all it is.
There's conversation and there's music that builds up and down to kind of make you feel nervous, and there's like one action sequence when she runs at him down the hall. Other than that,
it takes all of 2 minutes.
A helicopter.
And I guess you could call that a stunt or whatever. But like, there's zero action.
Yeah, it's just like,
but it's an absolutely like riveting thriller. Like as you're watching like these people and this relationship that's just like, who do I trust? Because even at the end, I'm like, man, I've been thinking of Nathan as like the antagonist this whole movie, but it's like, really, is he? It's his property. He built it. Like, even if he is cruel to his thing, it's like, I'm not cruel to my car. I just drive it because that's what it's for. So like me treating my car like a person isn't a thing. But him treating Ava like not like a person, and then having someone who comes in who fights for her rights when she's something that he designed is like, well, he's really not a bad guy. I mean, he's a weirdo. He's got some fetishes. He's a drunk. he's a manipulator, like all of these things, but those don't make him a bad guy. They might make him a bad friend.
Yeah,
but he's not a bad person.
And again, we do find out that at the end, he was telling the truth. He told the truth, where Ava was the one really not being a friend and manipulating and not telling the truth. And you brought up this, it's an interesting point too, because again, Star Trek has used this all along. Next Generation, Data, the Data character is in a sense like Ava. Data is an android who strives to be human, who learns and tries to gain the human condition, but he doesn't do it through these manipulative ways.
But how not smart he is. That's what
so
why would you want the human
chip, that he really need to act like a human.
And with again, I find the whole movie, and again, who is the protagonist, who's the antagonist, and I find that through dialogue and through filming, it was the way in which shots were composed, the way we would hold it cold. And again, this is how I inferred that Kyoko understood that she was being mistreated, only because her face would be right in the forefront, and and you could see that the gears are spinning. Like, I don't like this, but there's nothing I can do about it because I'm basically an indentured servant here, and that's my program. But I think there was a sense of understanding that she was being mistreated, and I think all of these levels and artificial and creating and building an artificial intelligence. What was going to happen to Ava? Do you believe that he was going to shut Ava down, or was that part of his manipulation? Yes.
First of all, I never, maybe it's my own thought process bringing it. I would have never, I never thought for a second that Ava should ever get out. So I never wanted her to get out. I was just saying, no, this is not a good idea. Maybe there's too much Skynet in my history. Do not let them, whatever you have to do not get her out. So I don't know if that answers your question.
But you think that he was going to
I don't
shut
think
her off and make another one?
I think for me, he's one of those guys like, okay, what's left on the horizon for me? I've already done this thing. Yeah. What else am I going to do? What else is going to give me enough excitement and juice?
But was he going to go out with the fact that he created artificial intelligence?
He even said, it's inevitable. I'm just getting there first. So I think that he would have, because again, what else is a guy like that? I have all the money. I can't spend it all. There's no way I'm going to spend all the money I have. What other intellectual pursuit is there that's going to keep me from blowing my head off? Because if I don't actively pursue this, I'm just going to drink till I die.
Right. But what I'm getting at, do you think that... All right.
So I don't know that
do you think that Ava passed the Turing test? Would he have said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the world, I've created the first artificial intelligence"?
He had enough hubris to do that, but I don't know that he would have, because because on some level I think he reasoned that there was a danger to it, because he even said it's inevitable. And for me in that conversation, it looked like he realized that's not necessarily a good thing that we get there.
Maybe not. I still think some of it goes back to his kinky thing, and I think that
I think he would have kept him, but I don't know that he would have let him.
I think he would have reprogrammed her, because now he knows that she can develop all this stuff. I think he would have just built another one that would have liked him, so she could.
That's what I think he was trying to do. Kyoko, as much as
Kyoko was something, I don't think he didn't have. There's no emotional connection with her.
And I think that's what he was missing in all of those before him.
He built Ava.
He's a lonely guy. He's a recluse up there. All he has are his bots, and they didn't quite pass the Turing test, meaning he couldn't attach to them because they couldn't really attach to him. So I think that's what he was trying to create.
And he probably figures out that Ava doesn't like him, so he's just like, look, if she's good enough, let me bring someone else in.
Exactly. I think he'll just go to the next one.
Because there were some hints of jealousy about his relationship with or her relationship with Caleb too. Right. I think he just would have wiped her memory, or not wiped her memory, but used it to improve the next one. And then that way she wouldn't remember this stuff, but she would be just as smart.
Attached to him.
He would get to start over and attach to him.
That's what I think he was doing it all for.
Okay, but then this begs the question, what you're talking about, because personally, then he was going to kill Caleb.
Maybe.
Why?
Why? Because if...
to your
point, you're saying he's keeping this a secret because he's not going to unleash...
If he's going to kill him, you don't need the NDA. I mean, I'm seriously...
if you want to say...
That's probably still manipulation.
It could be, but what would be the use of killing him?
Right. Because you're saying that Ava is not going to let loose in the world. Now, in the context of this movie, my definition of being let loose in the world is not to be let free, but to be used as, much like when anybody invents something, they say, hey, I just invented, I invented this robot that can, serve me dinner or read the news. Much like that. And I was thinking that the whole goal was to say, hey, I created the first AI. Her name is Ava. I'm not going to let her, he's not letting her free, but he's going to say, this is Ava. Hey, I ask anybody to come and you can interview her and talk and do this and do whatever, but not to let her free, because what's the point then if he's going to keep the whole thing a secret? Okay, which is what you're sort of kind of going down. He's not going to let this, he's just going to create for his own fetishes. Then he can't let Caleb go.
Why?
Because Caleb will go out to the world and tell the world, this guy's building AIs. And if he's keeping it a secret, well, you're saying that it's a secret.
Well, I'm just saying, let's say he does. So the guy says, no, I don't. So who's going to believe him? Caleb? The world's going to believe Caleb or him? And he has all that money. He really goes, let's quash this.
So then
sue the mother,
what's the
get him to
point?
stop.
Yeah.
I think initially, I kind of agree with Isaac. I think he was doing it for his own personal. I think one, it's an intellectual pursuit, and then when it became a great thing to have these bots around. But I really would like to have one bot for me who loved me. Because I didn't see that this guy was loved by anything or anybody.
And that's a great theme.
I think that's where it started, and then would it go on to eventually maybe putting it out in the world? Yeah, maybe, but I don't think that was where he was going with it.
That's one of the things he says. He kind of boils it down to, like when he's like, "Oh, why did you make her female?" Like, one, because it's fun, but also because because that's the base of who we are. Like we can't interact with a box or whatever.
Right.
But we can, and I think that's also why he built so many different types of ones. And even, and this is probably like grotesque, but even with different cup sizes essentially, I think him doing that is because even when he's like, well, do you like black chicks or whatever, and it's just well, this guy probably likes all kinds of chicks, but it feels like he's trying to live out all these little fantasies.
I don't disagree with that, but I think that for a person like Nathan, part of the end game he liked the God complex.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So and he's not who's the Apple guy?
Adam.
No, the guy that used to do all the
Steve Jobs?
I'm sorry. Was it Steve Jobs? Yeah, Steve Jobs is the guy that used to do all the presentations and things like that. Okay. Yeah. We know that guy was a little bit of eccentric, but he loved unleashing on the world the latest and greatest technology that Apple had to offer. Yeah. And I sort of kind of looked at Nathan as sort of kind of like that character.
Yeah, he
wanted, and he said, it's going to happen eventually. Yeah. I want to be the first guy that does it, and I'm trying this out. And I do have a sense that if not Ava, maybe the next one, but I'm going to say Ava because she passed the Turing test, that he was going to go out publicly and say, I created the first AI.
I'm not disagreeing with you that it might happen. What I'm saying is I don't know that it would have been Ava because I honestly felt like he wanted one to love him. And maybe he would have done another one so he can have his and they can have theirs. That's what I don't know that he'd gotten farther than I want to make one that will pass the test so it will love me.
Yeah, I'm definitely more on that train, which is also what you're saying, but I think he would have killed Caleb. Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, I don't know that I put it past him. I just don't think he needed to.
Well, maybe he didn't need to, but I feel like he might have just done it just to do it. Because
I'm not even thinking that. I just think if he's keeping it a secret, he doesn't want. Look, if a helicopter can't go close to find you have to follow a river, and that's another biblical reference, isn't it?
It
go
is.
down.
Sure.
So if you have to do that, there's he's not going to let this kid go and say
the kid is a
even though
flea.
he signed an NDA. I understand.
So I don't know that he.
Which is why I think he'd kill him.
But
I think that it would be impersonal. He's not good with people.
Right. But he would also be coming back to a world where he's going to go back to his job that everybody knew that he was at this guy's compound because he won this contest.
Yeah.
It's
like he's not going to spill the beans eventually.
I think Caleb was I think from the second that he said, well, I had these other security people and
he killed those people.
You think he killed them?
I just wonder if it's a story, but I believe it. It's probably a big ditch.
I mean, maybe. Like, I'm kind of like,
let me just put it this way. I don't think Nathan made a very good impression on you.
The actor and the role was juicy.
Yeah.
So it made a great impression on me.
Well,
but
no, I don't mean that way, but he's not a really good human. It's like,
no,
hey,
he's
killed
not.
Them, he killed them.
I don't think that he had, I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I don't think he had any problems treating them with disrespect. I just don't know that he.
Well, I mean, why does he live alone? Why is he out there for God knows how long? Like, he probably doesn't have any real attachment to people, which is why he's by himself. But
and
then he
making bots.
realizes he needs somebody, so he's like, well, I'm going to get one that obeys my commands. Well, that's not good enough, and now I'm going to do this thing. And like, even when they showed that video of the one that's like, why won't you let me out of here? And that whole thing, I don't know. It's
interesting. We should talk a little bit about, and I want to talk too about its impact on social marketing. Since we talk about
before we get into that part of it, let's talk about, because we didn't finish with our technical side, because before we went into that, because you guys talked production design, but I know you guys talked about sound, but I want to talk music, because Isaac, you've done music. How you mentioned it a few times. I honestly, I can't remember any of the music of the movie.
Well, I think it's which is usually like a good sign. I mean, obviously it was mostly score except for that one song.
There were two earlier. There was Enola Gay. There was the disco song.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah,
there was some, and that was
which all that stuff was effective. But like, I mean, obviously, like one of the things that's good about a score is like when you don't really notice it.
By Ben Salisbury and Jeff Barrow, just so they give them. So they worked with Alex on Dread, by the way.
Oh,
so that may be why you liked them.
Yeah, maybe, but it was just, to me, like the music was just super effective to every scene, and including like, I think a lot of those, like there's some, like if you watch like E.T., like the end scene, like without the music, it's pretty boring, but like, and I don't think that this movie would have been boring without the music, but I think it just fed all of that. Can we trust Ava? Because the music's always pumping, like while he's in there talking to her, while he's in front of the mirror, like cutting his arm, trying to figure out if he's an AI. And it just kept driving it up, to these like heightened emotions where like I'm watching a movie where two people are just talking to each other and my heart's beating really fast, as if somebody was gonna die, which I guess one guy does die, but for the most part, it's driving the feelings of the movie, which I thought was great.
Yeah, and see, and I would disagree with you. Without the music, I think that this would have been a different movie. I do think that this music.
Yeah.
Well, but I'm just saying,
would it have been boring?
I don't think it would be boring.
I don't see. I'm not sure, because I really do think that the music helped set the scene, the tone. It put a distrust on the audience. We didn't know who to believe. Hence, that built a suspense. We don't know who's in danger and from whom. Is Caleb in danger from Nathan? Is Ava truly in peril?
From the get-go that someone's gonna die?
You have a feeling,
you had
a feeling that something was going to go awry. But I just did. What to me was great about this movie is that I didn't see that end necessarily coming. To me, it was a great Twilight Zone episode, and it was nightmarish in a way without it being like horror movie scary, but it's still nightmarish when you think about it.
Because it does. Let's face it, if it's true at all, then that could be. There are AIs walking all around. We don't
absolutely.
Know.
No, I think there are absolutely. But no,
what's your favorite color?
I'm too old for favorite colors. I'm agreeing that like the music was effective. I mean, it just enhanced the storytelling. Without it, it would have not been as great. But
or as suspenseful, and it's interesting because I can't think of a particular like theme that I can hum in my head.
Oh no, I don't think there was.
I did notice that the music was there, and the source music I found to be quite fascinating.
Well, and there was like a thing that like I think it was either every time there was like either potential danger or something like that, where it was like this heartbeat sound that kind of like would like pulse through the thing, and like I noticed like every time it came up, I was like, okay, something's gonna happen, and then like okay, they're just gonna keep talking, I guess. But it's still, I'm still very ripped.
Primed.
And again, it used silence to its advantage because through the silence we were able to hear the hums, the hisses, the servos, and it was a very unique sound. It was not unlike when you first see like C-3PO and R2-D2 for the very first time in Star Wars. C-3PO and R2 have their own mechanical sounds. But C-3PO particularly, the way he walks, there's that there's mechanics there, and with Ava, You knew that there was mechanics there, and it was a completely original. For me, it was just the way that they did the hiss and the like. It wasn't overstated, but it was there in the background.
Yeah.
And I thought that was amazing. It was great.
Yeah, there's something I read specifically about that the actress,
Alicia.
What's her
I
last
can't
name?
pronounce her last
Her
name.
last name's hard to pronounce, but
For us Americans.
that she
Vikander,
yeah, that she purposefully walked like a young boy versus a young girl, like the way that she moved her hips, which was like, probably just one of those things to kind of even set you a little.
She's a dancer, a trained dancer, so quite control over her.
I have a question though, because you said you didn't see the end coming at all, and I mean, for this story, like
I knew as soon as they talked about the Mary box that she's got to get out.
I'm sorry, the what?
The Mary box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, I thought like this story is like there's obviously a lot of complex themes and all this stuff running, but it's fairly basic, and it's most AI sort of things. Like we're going to build it, and it's going to kill us. So I saw that coming. I just didn't know like how it was going to happen.
I mean, again, I appreciated that. I mean, they just told it well.
Yeah. You don't really need a complex story to have a riveting, like film or whatever. But I guess did you see? I mean, I guess you did say that you.
I only knew that she was going to get out in a way when they started talking about the Mary box and the fact that the what is it, the droid or the computer would see everything in black and white, and every time we saw her outside it was black and white, and I'm going, well, at some point she's going to be out, she's going to escape, and therefore she'll see everything in color, and she will now be the human, because in that particular storyline they were saying that the person would be able to feel and experience these things as in living color, and I go, oh, well, then she's got to get out.
Yeah.
Got to get out.
Were those dreams? By the way, like
What's
the black and white, was that like her dreaming or?
I don't know. I think it was his projection of something, because it was at that point of the movie. It's still from his point of view. But because if it was her point of view, I wouldn't necessarily think I would see her.
True.
So I don't know, but that's how I inferred that. Right?
Yeah.
Who knows what?
And again, I just think that the way that this movie wove its tale, I didn't know.
And I knew at some point they'd be on a street corner.
At some point, but
people.
You said they would be on a street.
Well, that's what I thought then, yeah.
I didn't see, again, because there was so much manipulation going on. Like, I didn't know, like, at first, because you are like, okay, we're going to set up this escape. And then, bang, the twist comes where Nathan says, I manipulated. Look, I mind-fucked you, man. And if you don't think so, you just cut your arm. I saw you cutting your arm in front of your mirror. And, like, So, listen, I'm just telling you right from the outset. And then you're like going, oh, shit. Oh, well, that's pretty sucky. Like, wow. And then you feel for Caleb, and you don't, and yet as an audience, we're still not aware of the ulterior motives that Ava has sprung this trap amongst the two males in this movie, and the way that she escapes and gets out and let loose in the world. That's what I didn't see coming. I thought it was a brilliant twist.
Do you think he did all that for a show then?
I think he did it because he was questioning his humanity.
So it wasn't.
I thought he was really freaking out at that point.
Yeah, I think he.
What else has he done to me? I don't know. Like it might be me. Okay, I guess not.
Yeah, I might be. What do I know of my
bandage.
existence? And again, it feeds right into. Well, I don't have parents necessarily.
Well, and that's the setup for us to be like, well, maybe.
Exactly, and I find that brilliant, and I just love the way that it really brings an audience in, and I think it's because of that pace too. You're really not distracted. You are set, right? And I think that, and again, it's the power of a good screenplay when you can have the characters through dialogue.
I have to, again, I'm going back to the fact that we know nothing about the guy. Inciting instance on page 1, boom, we're in. It's like, I don't know anything about him. The fact, what the hell are you doing going to this guy's place way out in bum? Fuck, what do you know, and then they leave you stranded, and you're just signing everything. Yeah, sure. What the hell? I'm going. Are you crazy? Do you not see? Yeah.
But wouldn't you go?
Probably.
Yeah, I would totally go.
I'm saying that's why it's plausible. That's why I think it's very effective.
I would totally go.
Okay.
Because if it was a work experiment, like if it was a work contest, that you're going to meet.
But did he not know he was in a movie? My God, if you're in a movie, don't go.
It's Willy Wonka.
If you're in a movie, go, because the movie doesn't happen unless you go.
But he's going to the chocolate factory. I mean, he's a nerd. He's going. He just won. He got the golden ticket, and everybody was happy and proud of him to go. They're like congratulating.
Let's get to your social media media thing.
Yeah, well, I wanted to talk a little bit because, when you talk, this is a very small company, this A24, and how they used their technology. Very fascinating. Didn't know if you knew about this, but at South by Southwest, Tinder was used, in which men were on Tinder, and they were actually having conversations with Ava, who they believed was a real human being on the other side.
Freaky.
Right?
Yeah,
and then at the end of all of that, it came,
You've been talking to a robot.
You've been talking to a robot. We're showing Ex Machina coming, and it went huge.
It's a great ploy.
And it was, and
great
yeah,
ploy.
and it worked.
Wow.
And it suckered in, and they had a huge screening. Ton of publicity, and you're using today's technology to set up to create an AI, and it was actually having dialogue with these
With a computer.
People were you do that. So I find that fascinating. Using technology. So then at this
point, I think we should all cut our arm open because I'm not sure that you guys or I am.
But
I'd be fine if I wasn't.
We could talk a little bit about the grosses because this movie opened up on April of all things. It opened up April 10th, limited, and it opened up at 4 theaters, and it came in at number 18, so it was in the top 20, doing 237.
Did you say
4 theaters? 4 theaters on April 10th. Top 20.
Damn.
Top 20. So, and again, they had really great wave of publicity, and you're opening up in New York and LA. And then they rode that wave till April 24th, where it went wide, in which it went to you go from 4 locations to 1,255 locations. So, and then it comes in at number 6. And again, for a movie like this, when you have a movie like Furious 7 and the Paul Blarts of the world and things like that, listen, I'm not knocking them.
I'll knock Paul Blart.
No, I'm not, because
it ain't for me.
That's fine. My whole point is it is playing in a sandbox of bigger tentpole movies and sequels and this.
But
and
this is showing that there's an audience for it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And like you said earlier, a theater-going audience, not just somebody who...
A theater-going, and it built up this great word of mouth, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is really,
huge.
Which is very good for a movie like this.
That's critics. Audiences are saying it's 89, 90. So they're in agreement, which isn't always the case. The critics and the audience don't always agree.
No, they don't. And
they're giving it the same...
For example, like last year we did, it was around the same time. We did Monuments Men, but we also did that movie Under the Skin.
Right.
And this movie, like, critics and audiences, I still defy anybody to try to explain that movie to me.
Polarizing movie of the year.
But now we're looking to date the total grosses anywhere if you're going to throw in Friday.
This is worldwide.
Yeah, well, I'm just giving domestic.
Okay,
it's about 9 million, close to 9 million, 8.7, maybe 9 million. Worldwide box office, we're going about 16.5 to 17 million. So, it's also found an audience overseas as well.
And it's going to go wide, right? Go even wider.
And this I find fascinating. So this week we know we can't escape the Avengers. That's great. I'm going to be there. You already saw it. You went last night.
Yeah, I went last night.
Right. It's a gravitational pull, right? So wisely, A24 says, Avengers is coming out. We're going to wait a week. May 5th, they say they're planning to expand even more.
Wow. I think they should.
And ride this wave of great goodwill.
Yeah. This is going to be that movie. They go, you got to go see it. You got to go see it. And the fact that they're holding it will make people go, oh, come on, you got to. And I think that will be to their advantage.
Yeah, I think that they've done a fantastic job. And again, it's just refreshing because
it is the antithesis in a weird way of, the Avengers. See, they're both sci-fi to some degree, right?
Yeah,
and so this is the huge, and this is the small.
And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, there were like a few explosions in Avengers.
Just a few?
2 or 3.
It was all in one location, right?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it was all in one building.
And only 3 characters, right?
One robot.
Yeah, it was like an interview, and Downey was talking to some guy, and then the thing blew up behind him.
Thor was wondering, am I a sentient being or not? I can't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A lot of.
But there is AI. There is AI in
That's
Avengers.
True.
So we've had an AI year. I mean, there was Chappie was an AI movie as well. But it just seems to be like this is an example, a great example of a little movie that's doing good. Like I said, this other horror movie called It Follows. I place it in the same category. It garnered such goodwill amongst its core audience and getting people in there. Ex Machina is actually it's what they call it's crossing over from the art house. It's getting a little bit more of a mature audience than say It Follows, because that's a more of a horror crowd. But this is getting people in. It's getting conversation, and these are the great things. Like, we can talk about Avengers and have a great time talking about Avengers.
Let's just briefly. What does anybody attribute that to? Because this could easily just. People have missed it.
It could have been missed.
Do you think it's their ad campaign, as you just mentioned, or is it because of the strength of the movie, or both? What do you think?
I think the ad campaign, which finding that out is brilliant. That's really smart. I think it's the word of mouth, but also I just think that that's proof that like people will go to see great original content. Like, look, I saw the Avengers, thought it was great. Like, I'll go and see a sequel anytime. I will not go see either Paul Blart movie, but there's an audience for that. But I like that it's like sort of like, I don't know, maybe in some ways like showing like Hollywood or whoever has got the magic lever in Hollywood to show what like movies are being made, but just that like if you make a great film, like people will talk about it and people will go to see it and then have discussions about it, like you said, like leaving the theater. The only bummer I had leaving the theater is because I had no one to talk to about leaving the theater, which I was like great when they're like, oh, we're going to do Ex Machina. I was like, I've been dying to talk to someone about this movie because there was so much going on, and the more that I've thought about it, the more I've loved it. Again, oh yeah, I would absolutely see it again.
And it's being written about, like in this article that I found. So, in addition to being smart entertainment, Ex Machina raises salient issues of artificial intelligence. Today, Maureen Dowd penned a column in the New York Times, "Beware Our Mind, Children," examining how critics are divided over whether Ex Machina is a feminist fable or misogynistic nightmare. And this is but this is, again, I'm not... Again, I just find that the mere fact that that the conversation is, regardless, is taking place. So that feeds into this word of mouth. Evidence that Ex Machina's word of mouth is strong. It was number 4, Machina, my apologies, macchiato. It was number 4 most searched Google item, like this past Friday. So, it doesn't hurt that, it's getting fanboys into the theater, the fanboys who know that Oscar Isaacs and Domhnall Gleeson are in Force Awakens. I think that has, but I think it's that much, but it doesn't matter.
They're both Star Wars guys.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're in Star Wars Force Awakens. Yeah, they're going to be in Star Wars.
I didn't hear that part of it. Yeah, but they're
they're both in Force Awakens.
Some small movie called Star Wars, but
which
actually that was part of my thought process too. Is like, one, I'm very geeked about the next Star Wars and cautiously optimistic that it will be good.
And then
but I was like, I want to take a peek. I mean, I'd already seen Oscar Isaac in Llewyn Davis, which I thought he was great in that, but I've not really seen Domhnall Gleeson a lot. I think he was in Anna Karenina.
Time Out.
Yeah, okay.
Is it Time Out?
I didn't...
Which one? I'm sorry?
The other movie,
Out of Time?
Unbroken, About Time.
About Time. Yeah,
I thought he was really good.
Yeah, he's really good.
And he was good in Unbroken, and his father's amazing too.
Unbroken, I did see him in that. Yeah.
So, and so going back to this viral campaign in social media, I forgot about this one. They called something #Ava Sessions, where you log into avasession.com and you can talk to the character who makes a sketch of your face. And on the article, it even shows how Zach Braff tweeted the thing, and it says, "Thank you, Zach. I drew your portrait. Can I draw you again?" So, and there's a portrait of Zach Braff, and Ex Machina is right there. So they did this great social media push. They did this great viral thing, and the movie just happens to be good. Look, if the movie was if the movie was crap,
bad, then no one would.
If the movie was crap, all the social media in the world ain't gonna save it.
Yeah.
Well, that's not always true.
I don't know.
No, let's face it. There's a lot of crappy movies that a lot of people go see.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot of really good movies that people never see.
I mean,
that's why I'm asking the question, because there's a lot of really good movies that don't get anywhere near the press.
I mean, there's luck, There's a little bit of luck of like this one caught on. It's like, why did
you and I could figure this out? We wouldn't be doing this. We'd be
exactly. I would write the next song that I knew was. It's like, well, some songs are like some songs are better than others, but some songs just catch on. Like,
but
this one hit right. And
this one just hit right, and it happened to be good. Like a small movie like this. It couldn't afford to have been a bad movie.
It is very rare that on Rotten Tomatoes you have critics and audiences almost exactly hitting this the same.
Absolutely.
And that's very rare.
And again, when you take a movie, let's go back. Let's talk, because A24 also released Under the Skin.
Yeah.
Now, whether you liked it, that movie was very polarizing.
Yeah.
And one thing that, again, movies are communal, so you can talk about the movie. And that movie surprised the hell out of everybody as far as what it was doing for box office and whatnot. And again, they had this great viral campaign going on, and it led to discussion, which is fascinating, which is like good fun debating, and I think that's that's what in part which makes movie going so exciting and fun. Is that communal experience, and you can see it with your friends. It's not singular.
We got to get out of here. We need last thoughts. We'll start with Isaac, since we opened with Isaac.
Oh, man.
First of all, thank you again for being here.
Thank
hope
you.
to see you again.
Yeah, that would be really fun to be back. Gosh, I hate going first. But,
All right, Dimitri, you're up.
It's
gather my thoughts.
I've not kept it a secret as to how much I've really enjoyed this movie.
And you think at Oscar time you want them to
Yeah,
remember.
I mean, again, this is the kind of movie, Oscar and Academy, that you can't forget. Just because it came out in April, you cannot forget. At the very least, you have to put this in Best Original Screenplay category, because it really is a smart script. I look forward to it. I hope that they, on Blu-ray, when they release it on that, I would like to get some behind the scenes footage on the making of this movie. I'd like to hear Alex's thoughts on the making, if there's a commentary. I want to learn more about this movie. I would see this movie again, and I will recommend it to everybody who hasn't seen it yet. Our audience has seen it.
Yeah,
we
hopefully.
want them, and hopefully they're spreading that word too, and we want to know their comments as well. But there you have it. I'm out.
Yeah, I still don't have anything better than that. But,
I'm sure you
I mean,
do.
it was great. This is the kind of movie that I go to the movies for. I mean, I go for other kind of types of movies too, but this, we can have like a 95-minute discussion about a movie. That to me means it was great, and we're not like trashing it for 95 minutes, you know. So I love
We've
the
done
acting.
that.
Yeah, yeah. When I talk for 10 minutes about a movie that I hate, you know. But the acting was just amazing. That's what made this movie.
We barely get into the acting.
Yeah, we didn't really. I mean, we kind of talked about it, but it's like the acting was just so like to me seamless.
Yeah.
Specifically Oscar Isaac, because he got like the juiciest role as well. But
that only works if Gleason's not doing his job, and Gleason did his job.
And if Alicia's not doing hers, I mean, you have to buy into her. You have to buy. Hers is very. It's hard because she has to play robotic but yet humanistic, and you have to sympathize. And she gains the sympathy, and that's where it's a smart screenplay. Things go red. It's an emergency situation. Don't trust him. Nope. And then they go back to light, and she just picks up conversation, and he's like, "What the fuck just happened? Like what?"
Right, yeah.
That's a sign of a good actress.
Yeah.
Right.
I would recommend it to anyone who especially that loves sci-fi. Like, you can't miss this one. Great direction. The sound design was great. All of that stuff that we've covered is just like, to me, it hit like every area that I was hoping. Like, if I had to give it a grade, it'd be like an A- or something like that. And even the stuff that you were talking about, where it's like, well, I would have liked this or that or the other. Like, I want a film to make me want more. I mean, sometimes I don't want it to make me want so much that I feel like I got nothing. Yeah. But I want it to spur along debate, and I want it to just draw me in, to be like, oh man, like I wouldn't see a sequel, but I would totally see this movie again. Because the sequel would absolutely ruin, like how special this was.
Oh man, they did a sequel.
So like, she's back, and this time she's got a sister.
Ava 2.
Yeah.
Ava 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, he's still in the room, and he's kind of hungry, so someone should go in there and feed him a meal or something.
This time it's personal.
By the way, let everybody know where they can find you.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Isaac Johnson, Instagram the Isaac Johnson. You can also find me on YouTube. And check out my music video. My YouTube is the Isaac Johnson. I've also got a short film on there because I pretend to be an actor sometimes.
You pretend to be. Well, that's what actors do.
Yeah.
So wait, they can find you. You have a YouTube channel. Where do they find you?
YouTube is the Isaac Johnson.
The Isaac Johnson. Okay. Dimitri.
I'm at DMovies1701 on Twitter. And you can find me here. And your final thoughts before the music fits.
I've said all my thoughts. We got to get out of here. But thank you very much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. Go see it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.